All right. Good morning, everybody. My name is Sukh Shetty. Thank you all for joining today's session on our part of our digital transformation session. We are going to discuss about connected product development with PLM and IoT, and I'm your moderator for this session. Just a few notes for this webinar. We are tuned in listen-only mode. Please use chat box to send questions. We'll address all the questions towards the end. And anyway, we'll be recording this session and we'll be sharing with you all guys. With any further ado, let me transfer the ball to Fred. Fred.
Yeah, thanks, Shook. Good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. Topic for the day is connected product development. What we will go through is a quick introduction about Driven 4 if you just don't know about us. Then we'll talk about the topic for the morning, which is really connected product development. What is it? How do you define it? And why would you want to actually do it within your organization? Then I'm going to pass it to Swapnil, and Swapnil is going to go through the use cases and demonstration of the system itself on how we incorporate the concepts we talked about, and then we'll open it up to questions and answers. With that being said, I'll just take a couple minutes to introduce Driven 4 and the speakers. I'll start with Bala first. So Bala, if you could introduce yourself.
Good morning, everyone. Again, Bala Shetty, one of the managing partners here at Driven 4, and I'm responsible for PLM and industrial IoT side of the capabilities. Thanks, Fred.
And Swapnil.
Thanks, Fred. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, guys. My name is Swapnil Gawande, and I'm managing the offshore delivery for PLM and IoT space here in Driven 4. Thank you.
Thanks, Swapnil. And Fred Bellio here, working with everybody on the team, just managing the organization and driving, I'll call it, really differentiated results for our customer base. So who are we? Just like everybody on the phone, we really were like you for the last 25 years. We worked at corporations like Mercury Marine, Brunswick, Whirlpool Corporation, Ashley Furniture, and a multitude of others. We come with that perspective in mind when we work with our customer base versus a consultative. We kind of look at it, what's it going to take for us to be able to drive that actually into your organization and successfully. The other things is all our folks come in with actual experience on your side of the fence. So doing work for companies, getting the stuff done as necessary and what it takes to get done and implemented with your organization. Our approach, we find, is a little differently than most of our competitors. We look at things really holistically, and we try and drive everything with a thought process of, how does this implement within your strategy? How do we put the right processes in place to make sure it's repeatable? And then how do we drive that into an execution model from a technology perspective so that we can actually efficiently execute the process in a repeatable fashion? That being said, I'm really going to walk into what the topic of the day is: connected product development, why and what. And really, we're going to start with the two aspects that we think about it from our perspective. First is every OEM is now being challenged to look at his or hers product line and understand, how do I get to a connected product? So typically, a lot of the products that we see in the marketplace are very static, very mechanical based, very siloed in their approach, as in we sell something to a consumer and that's what we do. What we see in the marketplace now, what's being asked by the customers, is turning that product not only into a product, but also into a service. So how do I actually now engage not only with the physical mechanical component, but from a software and connectivity aspect? How do I add new features? How do I make things better? How do I create that relationship with our consumers? With that being said, if you stand back a little bit, you kind of do and create the capabilities technology-wise and process-wise, both internally at your organization, as well as for your product line that's out in the marketplace. Today, we're really going to concentrate, how do we utilize those pieces of technology that we're incorporating within the organization and the product to better efficiently create a process for product development that is connected from start to finish. And when we look at it from a start to finish perspective, we look at anywhere from innovation, from a new idea, the strategies around that, the roadmaps that go associated with that, both from a product and technology aspect. But how do we then execute that in a connected manner from creating from a voice of a customer to a technical spec, functional spec, the critical parameters in our product? How do we trace that in real time from a digital world to the physical validation through design, as well as going through manufacturing and service? With that being said, I'll kind of go into it in three different aspects, a little bit more detail. The first one is really around product development. A lot of times we see the opportunity that companies have is linking the strategy of what's driving revenue and how do we get that to the place of executing projects, both from innovation technology as well as projects for executing new products to the marketplace. How do I make that kind of transition from that voice of the customer, the capabilities that the consumers want, into a set of requirements, both at a product, subsystem, and system level that we can then deliver to our organization and product development to start looking at things from a model-based kind of systems engineering, and then creating the artifacts digitally that can actually help us from understanding what was needed to how we actually design it. And then this aspect here, and we've done another webinar on the digital validation process, but you can do this in a connected manner for your design validation. That's a great output and a great start. So you think about it from strategy to a roadmap of execution to the actual execution piece from a design perspective. From there, we then look at it going, okay, that's our digital world. We do some actual physical validation. A lot of it's done simulation is a virtual aspect. We then get to the manufacturing aspect. So if you think about, okay, if I've got a product that's in my factory, I'm going to have connectivity in the factory floor to validate that that product works before it goes out to the actual consumer. It also provides a couple of aspects of closed loop from a digital design to a physical build to the digital work instructions, and then those quality pieces that could be measured by assembly sequence and end of line as well. So you think about kind of putting those connectivity capabilities within your facility. You've now got digital to physical in a enclosed environment. Why I call it closed environments, typically within your roof, what you do in your design and your manufacture. So that aspect kind of gives you a good understanding of how do we flow information, resources, and process so that we can actually get a lot more efficient through that with a real-time feedback loop throughout each aspect of that process. And then the last one that we really like, because a lot of times OEMs have a relationship with their consumer in two aspects. The first aspect is the initial sale, if you're direct to consumer. If you're actually in I call it dealer retail model, you're actually at arm's length to your customer. And then the second time you really start that conversation or relationship is when something doesn't go well. And typically that relationship's not a good one when somebody calls you about, hey, I got a problem with your product. So the idea here is, if you think about it from a connectivity aspect, you connect your product both for you as the home, as you know what's going on with that product and its capabilities and its environment that it's working in and how well it's performing. But you also start the conversation and relationship continuously with your customer from when it's purchased to when it's being used. And if we get to I'll call it adding an analytics aspect to it, you start looking at being predictive so you can actually give some great feedback to your customer base prior to something breaking. You can ask them to bring it in, or we're going to send somebody there to fix something because we see an anomaly in the system. So we can actually do that. The other piece that's really strong is if you think about, how do problems come back into your organization? It's typically with a customer call, an email, a complaint, some things you see in manufacturing. We now have real-time feed of data and potential issues that are coming right back from in service that we can use in design to start looking at how do we resolve these potential problems before they occur, or how do we resolve the problem that has occurred. So those are the things of creating this closed loop process. That connectivity, if you integrate it within your product development process from start to finish, really differentiates not only the product that you're offering to the consumer, but how you execute it within your four walls and, of course, your supply base. With that, I am going to hand this over to Swapnil. Swapnil, let me just change your role. If I can find you on this list.
I did that.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Fred, and thanks for that. It was awesome, really great. So I hope you can see my screen.
Yes, we
Yes.
can.
Wonderful. So before we really jump onto the system for this demo, I would like to set up the context, a use case, wherein what exactly the storyline is about. So for that, we're going to use three systems. Number one is going to be your PLM system, wherein you design your product right from your concept till release to manufacturing, I would say. So we're going to very much focus on the engineering specification, those critical parameters. For today's demo, we have picked up the transmission overheat due to incorrect lubrication as our use case. The next system is going to be the connected validation. So in this system, we will run through certain scenarios to check the oil levels and the temperature accordingly. And the third system is going to be the on service, which is the connected product system, which will tell you the on service parameters on the same line, oil level and temperature. So this completes the closed loop, what we have been talking about, and Fred had explained it very well. Looking at the PLM system, what we're going to see is the drive system. And within the drive system, we're going to pick up the rear interaxle differential assembly. It sits in your car. Now, again, as I mentioned, the use case is around the low lubricant level. So typically, a lot of heat gets generated if there is an insufficient lubrication available in the assembly, in this differential assembly, which could result into wear and tear of your components and eventually, breakdown. So next is the connected validation. As we mentioned, here we're going to run out certain scenarios. We'll quickly show them. And here is the standard data, which shows heat is the number one transmission killer. So as heat increases, there is larger chances of transmission failure. And third system is the connected product, wherein you'll have the difference mashup, and it will tell you the exact in-service product information, how they are behaving, again on the same parameters of oil level and temperature. Now, let's jump onto the system. What you see on my screen is that the PLM system we have used Winchell, and here is the overall drive assembly. What you see here is on the left is the structure. What you see here is the visualization, and we are going to concentrate here on this particular differential, the rear differential assembly. So I have kept it open here, pretty much the assembly that we're going to focus on. I'll not run through the process of creating a test request because that has been covered already in our previous webcast, and please feel free to visit those videos available on our channel. So what I'm going to do is, in the interest of time, I'm going to jump on to the connected test lab and show how the test requests are seeing here. So these are the sample test requests that we already created in the system. You see the same part number, what has been here in the Winchell, and as per the test request, it's ready to get tested. I can start the test here. And what it does is we have actually attached a simulator in the background, which is producing the data for our oil level and temperature. So what you see on the screen is the different temperature based on the different oil level that is getting generated. Again, this is simulated data for this particular assembly and for the various oil level being the critical parameters. Now, what I can do is I can stop the test after running certain scenario. I can send this information in Windchill. It will attach this test result back into your Windchill up to a particular part or component or assembly, whatever you've been testing. So if I say send it to Windchill, it actually sends these reports, whatever the test run has been done, to Windchill, and it gets attached on a particular. It got traded. So maybe I'll go to the latest one, and what you see here is the test request 1003 report being attached here. So that's the connected lab. Now we are pretty much talking on the same line of critical parameters. Sorry for this. Now let's move on to the connected product. Let me try to log in here. So this is our connected product portal. What you see here is the information of products that are in service. So what you see on the screen is our main menu, and there are different apps available in this portal, like dashboard, maps, settings, reports, and administration. The administration is definitely for configuring the reports and different part of the system. In today's demo, we'll largely cover around the dashboard and the maps, reports and settings. It's self-explanatory, but again, for this demo purpose, we'll get into the dashboards. What you see here in the dashboard is the current scenario of various drive system pilots that we have put it in the field, their oil levels and their temperature, and other data like when is the next service date, when is the last service happened, end user address, and days to service. So these are some of our, as I mentioned, it's a pilot tool. And then what you see on the top is the next 6 months. There are 4 drive systems that are due in next 6 months, probably some of these like the pilot 12, which is nearing service. In service, there are 10 of them that are in service. There are service due, a couple of them. Out of service 5, what you see here. And in total, there are 11 end users that are using or doing this pilot till date. Now, if you go into the detail of each drive system, what I see here is the live data of an oil level and the temperature currently. Again, this is an a simulation data, but pretty much connected. And what you see here is the different parameters. It tells you the oil level. It tells you the temperature. When was it previously serviced, and when is the next service date, and kind of thing. Likewise, you can go to the different details page of a different drive system and watch each of their information. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to quickly change the app, and let's look into the map. How does it look like? So there are different options and different options to search a particular pilot or particular drive system. I'm going to select the same pilot 1. I could see it here. I go and I can watch the details. I click on this table, and it shows me the next level of details, what it is, how it is functioning, it's in service, and how the things are being carried out now. I can even, I can clear this, and I can even search it via probably the region or the state. I quickly go into the state, and I see how many systems that we have placed. We could see some of the systems here. There are a couple of them that are working fine. All the results in Wisconsin, they're pretty much on the same location, but that's why the dot is overlapping each other. But yeah, now you get to see those information, detailed information about those drive system. there. So yeah, that's the connected product. That's the information it shows in a different way. As Fred mentioned right in the beginning, you have all connected stuff, right? Starting from your PLM to your validation, which is connected pretty much, connected in both the ways to the component and to the system to give the live data, and then the connected product, which gives you the real-time information of in-service product. And that is how we say it closes the loop. That's all from the demo perspective. Back to you, Fred.
Thank you very much, Swapna. Appreciate it very much. Nice job.
Thank you.
Suk, did you? Oh, there we go. So we went through, let me just kind of highlight, and you can chime in there, Swapno. We kind of showed the showcase from the parameters, specifications, to actual validation and design, all the way through, what we're monitoring, through the system itself, as well as how we go through the lab and understand how does that validate the actual concept of the design, and then the connected product out in the field and getting kind of information back to the actual OEM to understand how that actual item is being performing during the actual use of it in the actual field. Now we'll open it up to questions, and Suk, I'll pass it back to you and see if anybody has any questions.
All right, can you guys hear me? Can you put the screen, can you share the screen, please, Fred, if you can?
Sure.
All right, we do have a couple of questions here. Maybe Fred or Swapnil, you can take that. Without PLM system in place, how can I utilize the data from connected product portal for design or product improvements?
Can you repeat that one more time, Suk? I'm sorry, you cut out on me.
Yeah, okay, so sorry about that. Without a PLM system in place, how can you utilize the data from connected product portal for design or product improvements?
Yeah, so a lot of OEMs, when we walk in, they have a lot of systems that hold a lot of information, be it information for testing, information for design, information for manufacturing, information for quality, as well as, I'll call it the CRM from the customer and understanding what those are. What we typically do is we can actually amalgamate all those inputs into one view, either by product or role, so that people can understand how that works, so that it gives you I call it a pseudo PLM system, to try and drive the information in a product view, so that you can start looking how to actually assess what you have and how to ascertain what the next steps are for any issues that you have, or how do you gather new products and how do you put those into place. Hope I answered that question.
Awesome. I have one more question here. If anybody wants to actually unmute and ask question, please feel free to. So I have one more question from the chat. How can we use connected product system for generating customer experience or create complaints in quality management systems?
Okay, yeah, that's a good question. So from our aspect, there's two kind of questions that are rolled in there. One is, how do you engage your customer base? You can do it in a couple of different ways. You can gather information, provide that information to the consumer. You can provide insights to that product and how well it's performing and how well if you need to do something in as a action to solve a potential problem. The second piece is also to provide a platform of communication to that customer on how they're perceiving the product, how well did they like the set of the actual features. And then the critical one from a product development standpoint is, as you bring feedback from the actual customer in service, you can utilize that information to start driving your quality process, be it a CAPA process or different processes that you use, to be able to execute both from how to get better quality out of your design, but also how to resolve a potential or current issue.
Awesome. I think that's a very good explanation there. I don't see any more questions here, Fred. Is there?
Okay.
Yeah, that's from the question side. Audience, please feel free if you have any questions, unmute yourself and ask. If not, I think it's end of our session. So I want to conclude today's meeting with thank you all for joining today for this our part of our digital transformation session. And hope this was informative and exciting. Feel free to touch base with any of us here. If you want to learn more about our session, I'll be posting this soon to your emails and also in the YouTube channel. So can you move on to the next page? Yeah, okay, you are already there. I just want to talk about what's our next session coming up in January, role of PLM with the enterprise PPM. This is going to be an interesting one because it's normally people only look at ERP and PLM as their core enterprise tools, but I think the PPM is one of the more advanced way to manage your PMO or product portfolio. So hope to see you all guys there in January as well. And being said, thank you very much. I appreciate all coming in today.
Yeah, thank you very much, everybody. Take care.
Hello.